Hey everyone, it's Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. I'm excited to be here with you this week, and the topic I want to talk with you about this week is where we get our compass that guides our bright line eating journey. And I want to start off by telling you a little story relating to a couple of comments that have been posted underneath previous vlogs, and also one long, very heartfelt email that I received from people in the bright line eating community. And the basic topic of the comments was, Susan Pierce Thompson, are you aware that when you start every vlog, you roll your eyes up and say, welcome to the weekly vlog in this sing-song voice, and your eye rolling suggests dismissiveness and that you don't believe in what you're saying, and it's a very sort of, they didn't say weak, but sort of like hedged, step back, like insecure kind of way to present yourself at the beginning of the vlog. And the body language of that suggests, I don't believe in what I'm saying, I don't believe what I'm about to tell you, sort of reminiscent of the way women often present themselves in our society, sort of discounting what they have to say. Anyway, so there were variations on sort of this concern, and it was very lovingly presented, but, you know, Susan Pierce Thompson, I think you should know that this is not a good way to present your vlog, and it bugs me, it bothers me, I don't think it's good. I'm feeling like you might not be aware of this, you might want to consider this. So anyway, I received that feedback. It was underneath some of the vlogs, and someone sent in a long email about it. And, you know, I get feedback all the time, all kinds of feedback about all kinds of things. And very early on in this journey, almost 2 years ago, when I started my email list and I started sending out emails, you know, on day one of starting my email list, I had like 75 people on the email list. That's already enough people to be getting feedback. I would get comments from people about, you know, I think you should say this, I think you shouldn't say that, this bothered me, that, whatever, right? And so pretty early on in this journey, I was confronted with the topic, the notion, the idea of where am I going to find my compass for this journey? Like, how much am I going to let myself be thrown off by other people's take or interpretation of what I'm doing and what I'm saying and what I'm conveying? Because I think there's a fine line here to walk, and I want to relate this back to you and your bright line eating journey. Other people's feedback is helpful. We need it. We need to not discount it out of sight, right? Like, we need to not just stay blind and deaf to what other people are telling us about ourselves. Other people's perception of us is very useful information often. It's also often irrelevant and wrong and not necessarily pertinent to what we feel like we're doing on our journey. And so the question is, where do we find our compass to guide us? And what I want to share with you is, first, what I did with that feedback, and second, what I think this kind of suggests about where we can get our guidance and our compass for our bright line eating journey. So what I did when I received that feedback, I think maybe the very first time I read it, it sort of put words to something that I think I might have, in a bodily sense, I've known that I was doing, but I don't think I sort of had the words to say, at the beginning of every vlog, I roll my eyes back and tilt my head side to side and say, welcome to the weekly vlog in a sing-song voice. Now, I knew that I was doing that because I did it every week kind of on purpose, but I didn't have the explicit nature for it. When it was pointed out to me in explicit fashion like that, what I realized was that the feedback that I was receiving wasn't in line with me, in the sense that I am not a person who lacks confidence. Like, I've been accused of a lot of things, and I have a lot of faults and a lot of issues. Lack of confidence isn't one of them. It's just not. It's not, you know, I have striven my whole life to be less full of myself, less confident, less ego, not less confident, but less, you know, kind of, I don't know, like big in my presence. So lack of confidence is not where that was coming from. So that was just a total misread of people. Like I'm being like, when I do that, I'm being friendly, kind of, like it's a little, I say the same thing at the beginning of every vlog. I'm Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. So it's just kind of like, basically I'm just having fun. And so there I was being faced with some feedback of, I think that you're lacking confidence and you should have more strength and, show more assurance in the validity and the value of what you're about to present to people. For me, that didn't resonate. Like I'm not lacking confidence in what I share. So, and I know from a neurolinguistic perspective that when people roll their eyes back, they're actually thinking. It's got nothing to do with confidence or lack of confidence. Like you'll notice in the vlogs that are the most sort of heavy and deep, I'll spend a lot of my time with my eyes up in the air kind of thinking about things. So anyway, basically I did a 2-step, maybe 3-step process with that feedback. I listened to it. I checked it against my own internal compass. And I reflected it off a few people that I trust and got their take on it. And then in the last analysis, I decided to be myself. And that, I think, is what I'm going to title this vlog. Be yourself in your bright line eating journey. And where this is likely to come up for you, if you do the bright line eating boot camp and or you stick with the bright lines, no sugar, no flour, eating only meals, like 3 meals a day, not eating in between, not snacking, bounding your quantities, either by weighing and measuring with a digital food scale or using a 1 plate of food rule and not going back for seconds. If you do the bright lines, you're going to lose weight. And you're going to lose weight more quickly than people around you are going to be prepared for. And they are likely to give you comments like, isn't this extreme? How long are you going to be doing this? Aren't you isolating yourself from everybody? Haven't you lost enough weight? You're not going to lose any more weight, are you? Haven't you lost enough weight? Blah, 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 right? We get people in our bright line eating boot camp getting comments of, aren't you done losing weight yet? From their friends and family when they still have 50 pounds left to lose. Like our society, I mean, because they've already lost 100 pounds, and family members and friends are just well-meaning. They don't, as were the people that sent me that feedback. They were giving me really heartfelt feedback, and I responded to them in kind, like, thank you for your perspective. I appreciate feedback. A lot of feedback comes into me that I take. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. Thank you for sharing that with me. But at the end of the day, in our bright line eating journey, we have to be ourselves. There is no substitute for your inner compass of what's going on with you. You are your estimation of whether you're on track or not on track. You have the compass deep inside of you. All of us were given a compass inside of us. We have a gut that tells us if things are right, a heart that tells us if things are right, a brain that tells us if things are right. And sometimes we're error prone. So that's why it's important to check things off of trusted people, trusted advisors. But in the last analysis in this bright line eating journey, you're going to need to be yourself, because you're going to get feedback from people that feels off-putting, like, isn't this extreme? Are you going to do this forever? Haven't you lost enough weight yet? And in my experience, the people that I trust to go to process those kinds of comments are the people that I'm walking this bright line eating journey with. Because honestly, in my perspective, the way people are eating out there in the world is extreme. Like, people are eating excess food, processed food, unhealthy food, eating themselves into diabetes and heart disease and joint pain and overweight and obesity. Not just a few people. In America, it's 2/3 of the people. Around the world, it's now over 2 billion people that are overweight or obese. So I have to be prepared when I decide to walk this bright line eating path. I have to be prepared to occasionally field feedback from people that's not going to be positive and might feel uncomfortable to hear, and honestly is not in line with my take on what I'm doing. Like, this feels right to me. This is right to me. I am happy, thin, and free. I am glad to be doing bright line eating. And, I get comments to this day, you're too thin. I'm not too thin. Like, I have a very normal BMI. and I'm super healthy, and I've been within this weight range for 13 years, and my body is fine. So, you know, when people give me their well-meaning feedback, I say, oh, thanks for sharing, you know. Now, I just want to end this with one other thought, because if the feedback is coming from the people who are closest to us, a partner, a parent, a child, a spouse, a child, a, you know, sister, brother, whatever, people that we live with on a daily basis or really are close to, what I recommend doing with them is, if they're really not understanding our Bright Line Eating journey, is to sit down with them and to say, I'd love to have a talk with you. Can we have a talk? And then explaining to them why I'm doing what I'm doing, why it matters to me, and asking for their support explicitly. Like, I love you, and I would love your support on this. This feels really important to me. I want to get healthier. I want to get happier. And then maybe asking them to take the food freedom quiz so you can see where they are on the susceptibility scale. Because, like, if you're a 7 or an 8 or a 9 on the susceptibility scale and they're a 2 or a 3, they may fundamentally not understand why a program of Bright Lines would actually be helpful for you, because their brain works very differently when it comes to food. So you might want to go to foodfreedomquiz.com, and for the people that you really care about who are super close to you, you know, get them to understand how, or just share with them how your brain works with food and how their brain works with food, and why this plan actually is a very sane, needed thing for you to implement in your life. And for everybody else, just a very, you know, I read Miss Manners when it comes to like how to respond to people. Just say, oh, thanks for sharing. Oh, thanks for your concern. It's all you got to say. Anyway, I'm Susan Pierce Thompson. If you have a question you'd like me to address on the weekly vlog, just email it in. I'm at susan@brightlineeating.com. I'll see you next week.